Whew. Hey internet, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Jongravesshow, talking to everybody about what is going on with One Punch Man this week. And what is going on in One Punch Man this week is that I can pretty much sum this episode pretty quickly, because all the S-Class heroes, they go ahead and they take out that squishy morphing motherfucker and they take his ass out. So he's done. Also, Silver Fang is awesome because he's not dead. So that's also a good thing to cover that up. And that's pretty much their battle. And then with Saitama, what is going on with him is that he's actually him going up against Boros is actually pretty fucking amazing how he actually fights him and how powerful Boros is, because in a sense it's like Boros is the only enemy who that Saitama has fought to this point, Saitama only hit him about 4 times. He punched him 4 times, and with those 4 times, actually 5 times because when they clash with the serious punch versus his galactic shock, or whatever the fuck that move was called. It's like, looking at that, it's like that this was the first enemy who that Saitama had to relatively somewhat try against. So when you actually look at the fight here, it's more or less like Saitama is just getting beat around and allowing himself to get hit, and to the point where he still has to try, and he still has to keep his guard up, because he can keep up with Saitama, and he does have enough strength to knock him through his own ship and knock Saitama into the moon. Even going as far as to go into his ultimate final form, to where that even though it does tear down his body, he still has to go up against him to fight him. And of course, that was a very glorious fight, even though, you knew that Saitama was going to win. And they did kind of have like a wonderful back and forth at the end, where Boros is like, it was a good fight. And of course, Saitama says it was because this is as close to an actual fight as what Saitama has ever gotten into. To which Boros calls it a lie, because he has way more energy to spare, and he doesn't even think that he even damaged him all that much. So that is kind of what happens. Another interesting part of what happened in this episode is the fact that for some reason Tornado really believes that she's a firm believer of ranks. So what she believes about her rank is, because she's an S-Class, that she technically is way more powerful than everybody else, especially since all of the actual S-Class heroes, they are very, very, very impressive fighters, and they all do seem to have somewhat of the same kind of abilities and skills as what Genos has. So pretty much they do seem to be very, very, very qualified fighters. Problem with that is, though, is that a lot of them are kind of dicks whenever it comes to rank, because they care more about their ranks, like how we talked about in previous episodes, than to their own jobs. And it wasn't until I think his name is Araki Mask, the dude with the blue hair who shoots his TV series and shit. Apparently, he kind of came down and said that all of the S-Class heroes are pretty disappointing, because because City A is just destroyed. There is pretty much nothing else there. It's just fucking rubble. And he goes on to say that, well, I can kind of understand his point, and I don't want to understand his point. Well, not I don't want to, is that I agree with what he's saying, but I also disagree with what he's saying. And pretty much it boiled down to this, of saying, you are all heroes, okay? You are all heroes, and you have these S-Class ranks, and you are supposed to be the best of the best, meaning that you can't call yourself a hero if pretty much you can't defeat a world-destroying crisis, and you can't completely stop them to where that life does not stop whenever you do your job. Because of course that is what he qualifies as them being S-Class heroes. If they're S-Class heroes, then honestly, the town itself, it probably would never even had even gotten attacked, even if they were in a meeting, as Atomic Samurai pretty much pointed out, saying that we were in a meeting, and when we came out, they were already destroying the town. But as Araki Mask says, that's not a fucking excuse. How in the hell would the media take that, even if you did do your best? They don't really give a fuck. And of course, this kind of coincides with what Saitama was saying, I believe, back in episode... I believe that was episode 8 when the meteor came down upon City Z and he destroyed the thing and everybody was complaining about like that, their cars and homes and whatnot. And as Saitama put it at that time was, who gives a shit? If you have a problem, tell it to the people who came and destroyed your home, because they don't give a fuck. So why in the hell should I have to answer for their mistakes? And that's kind of what kind of plays off here, to whereas that is what Araki Mask is trying to throw on everybody. But of course, you know, that's not really doing all that much to Genos, especially since he says that he is disappointed in Genos because he had the highest hopes for him. But Genos like, I don't really give a fuck, because he's a lot like how I used to be when I was younger, or at least like before I met Saitama. And then, you know, it's like he was hurt by something and he's not gonna let it go, and he's just and he's just a man on the edge. So, you know. But of course, this does end with nobody dying except for the aliens, and Araki Mask pretty much saying that he's a guy who fucking believes in justice, even though realistically justice and righteousness are portrayed by the person who are portrayed by people who others perceive as villains. I mean, other people can see us as villains, and we may see them as villains based upon different views. And you may have the same fucking goal, but they don't want to work together. So, you know, it's kind of how that shit goes. But that is how this ends, or at least that's how the battle of the super invasion stops. And, of course, they rebuild the city. Nobody mentions it in the news. Then they get over it. And then from there, pretty much life carries on like how it always does, with Genos and Saitama saving people and destroying a gigantic pig that's called the Pollution King. So, of course, that's pretty much what happens with them. But until then, that is what I gotta say about that. Please tell me what you think about this down in the comment section. I'll catch you guys on the next Jongravesshow. Please keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I'm out.